After 60, life changes in significant ways. But here's a little secret you might already suspect. It's not the end of anything. It's the beginning of something much deeper. This is a stage where we can live with greater clarity, serenity, and above all, wisdom. But how do we achieve that? This is where Stoic philosophy can guide us to make the most of the years ahead. Yes, time keeps moving, but that doesn't mean we can't live more fully than ever before. In this video, I'm going to share the keys to a better life after 60, based on Stoic principles that will help you simplify, accept, and live with serenity. So if you're seeking more balance and purpose in this stage, stay until the end. What you'll discover might completely change how you see life. My name is Gabriel, and if this is your first time here, I invite you to subscribe and turn on notifications. Stick around until the end, because the most important insights are yet to come. Let's get started. 1. Simplicity is key to a fulfilling life. I know you've heard this before, but at this point, it's not just a trend or a self-help mantra. Simplicity is a necessity. In your 60s, 70s, and beyond, life can become tangled with complications, and what once seemed important now feels like a backpack filled with useless stones. How many times have you asked yourself why you're still carrying so much? Not just material things, but commitments, worries, and people who, let's be honest, don't contribute anything to your peace. The Stoics, like Seneca, understood this centuries ago. He said, "Simplicity is the greatest luxury." And he wasn't talking about austerity, but about letting go of what doesn't add to your life. Do you really need so many accumulated things? So many responsibilities that only drain you? This is the time to declutter, both physically and emotionally. Simplicity isn't just a strategy for organizing your home or your day, it's a philosophy for living more lightly. By simplifying, you make space for what truly matters. Enjoying a conversation, reading that book you always wanted to, or simply having peaceful moments without the noise of should. And the best part? As you let go of the unnecessary, life starts to feel lighter and clearer. Here's a simple exercise. Take a look at your daily life. Ask yourself, what things, activities, or commitments could you let go of today? Maybe it's something small, like a social obligation you always attend out of duty. Or maybe it's something bigger, like releasing expectations others have placed on you. Self-love also means learning to say no without guilt. In this stage of life, simplicity isn't a luxury. It's an essential tool to reclaim your peace and live with more intention. Simplifying isn't giving up. It's making room for what truly matters. 2. Authentic relationships enrich you. Authentic relationships enrich you. And here's a hard truth. At this point, there's no time for shallow or exhausting relationships. Over the years, you've met countless people, formed friendships, and seen some of those relationships fade or turn into a burden. And that's perfectly normal, because not every connection we make over the years is meant to last. Now is the time to be brutally honest with yourself. Who are the people who truly add value to your life? I'm not just talking about those who are around out of habit or obligation, but those who support you, inspire you, and leave you feeling lighter after being with them. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, believed that true wealth lies not in what we own, but in our relationships. But remember, this doesn't mean quantity, it means quality. One of the great lessons of Stoicism is that relationships should be based on authenticity. You're not here to keep up empty connections or friendships that survive only out of habit. And let's be honest, some relationships drain you more than they enrich you. That friend who always leaves you feeling worse, that family member who only seeks to criticize or drain your energy, you don't need to keep investing time and energy in that. Self-love also means setting boundaries. It's not selfish to prioritize your emotional well-being over other people's drama. So here's a practical tip. Identify the relationships that are truly worth your time. Value those who have been there in hard times, who inspire you to be better, and who support you without expecting anything in return. As for the rest, it's time to let go. It may seem difficult, but believe me, it's liberating. At the end of the day, authentic relationships enrich you in a way that nothing else can. And if you think about it, it's better to have a few meaningful connections than to maintain many superficial relationships that bring you nothing. Surround yourself with people who add to your life, not those who subtract, because at this stage of life, true wealth is in the people who make you feel at peace and at home. 3. Embrace the passage of time. I know this can be one of the hardest lessons to accept. It's not easy to look back and see how quickly the years have passed. The body doesn't respond like it used to, physical changes are inevitable, and nostalgia for who we once were can become a heavy weight. But here's a truth you may have been avoiding. Resisting the passage of time only leads to frustration. Accepting it, however, gives you the freedom to fully live in the present. The Stoics, like Epictetus, taught us not to lament what we can't control. And guess what? Time is one thing we can never stop. Instead of seeing it as a loss, think of the passage of time as an opportunity to let go of what you no longer need and focus on what truly matters. Why hold on to an image of yourself that no longer fits who you are today? Accepting the passage of time doesn't mean giving up. It means learning to live with more wisdom, with more gratitude for what you've experienced, and with the awareness that the present is still valuable. Maybe you don't have the same energy or physical abilities, but you've gained something far more important: experience, perspective, and a depth that only comes with age. Look, resisting aging is like trying to stop the tide with your hands. It's not going to happen. But what you can do is change the way you face it. You can choose to see it as a burden or as an opportunity to live more fully, without the pressure of what used to be. Here's a simple exercise. Make a list of everything you've gained over time instead of what you've lost. Maybe your body isn't the same, but think of the experiences, the people, and the wisdom that are now part of you. Every wrinkle, every change tells a story, and that's a story worth celebrating, not mourning. Aging with dignity and serenity means accepting that time doesn't stop, but that doesn't mean you have to stop. There is so much left to live, to learn, and to enjoy, so long as you stop fighting the inevitable and start embracing it with gratitude. Because the passage of time isn't the enemy, it's part of the journey. 4. Perseverance fuels wisdom. In your 60s, 70s, and beyond, you might think there's not much left to persevere for, right? That by now, we should simply take it easy. But that's a big mistake. Perseverance is more important now than ever. We're not talking about the grand physical feats of youth, but about the ability to keep moving forward, to keep learning, adapting, and not giving up as life changes, because it sure does change. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoics, said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." And he couldn't have been more right. Every obstacle you face, every unexpected change, every challenge is an opportunity to learn and grow. Life doesn't necessarily get easier with age, but your ability to face it with wisdom does. And that's what makes all the difference. Perseverance doesn't mean pushing as hard as you did at 30. It means finding the inner strength to adapt, to keep learning, and to not let challenges define you. Maybe you don't have the same physical energy, but now you have something much more powerful: the resilience you've built with each life experience. When I talk about perseverance, I'm talking about that ability to wake up each day with a sense of purpose. It can be as simple as keeping a routine that makes you feel good or learning something new that motivates you. Wisdom doesn't come just with age, it comes from the attitude you choose to have toward life. Here's an exercise. Think of a challenge you're facing right now, something that feels difficult. Instead of seeing it as a roadblock, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Perseverance isn't about overcoming everything like an epic hero. It's about moving forward step by step, knowing that each small advance brings you closer to a fuller, wiser life. The wisdom you seek doesn't come from books or from the time you've lived. It comes from your ability to keep going, even when things aren't easy. Because at this stage of life, it's not about being the strongest physically, but about being the most resilient emotionally. 5. Wisdom is your greatest wealth. Throughout life, we've gathered many things: experiences, objects, memories, relationships. But there comes a point, especially after 60, when you realize that material possessions aren't what matter most. What truly has value is the wisdom you've collected along the way. And the best part is that this wealth can't be lost. No one can take it from you, and it doesn't deteriorate over time. On the contrary, wisdom only grows. Seneca put it well: "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." And this is especially true when you realize that in the end, what you enjoy most in life isn't the things you own, but what you've learned from them. Wisdom allows you to let go of the constant craving for more because you understand that the essentials are already within you. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that at this age, there's nothing left to learn, that what you know is enough. But true wisdom is knowing that there's always something new to discover. And beyond anything else, your ability to reflect on your own experiences is what makes you truly rich. The years you've lived are like a book full of lessons, and the more you reread it, the deeper your understanding becomes. Wisdom gives you the ability to see what you once overlooked, to understand things from a broader perspective, and to find peace in what truly matters. Instead of seeking more things or more achievements, you start to seek more understanding, more quiet moments, and a deeper connection with yourself. Here's a practical tip. Every day, take a moment to reflect on a lesson you've learned in your life. It can be something small, like a conversation that taught you something, or something more profound, like a mistake from which you learned. This exercise will not only remind you of what you've lived through, but also help you appreciate the true wealth you've accumulated over time. Wisdom is your greatest treasure because it guides the decisions you make, helps you accept the past, and brings clarity for the future. And the best part is that the more you cultivate it, the more it grows. Because at this stage of life, wisdom isn't just a goal, it's your greatest reward. 6. Live in harmony with the nature of life. This may sound a bit philosophical, but it's an essential truth that becomes clearer with age. As we grow older, we realize that not everything in life can be controlled. And this is where the Stoics offer a powerful lesson. To live in harmony with nature means accepting that life flows in ways that often escape our hands. It's about learning to stop resisting the inevitable and starting to go with the flow of what life brings. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor and philosopher, put it simply: accept whatever comes to you, weave it into your best. And that's the point. Life is full of changes, some welcome, others we'd rather avoid. But when you stop fighting against them and start accepting them, you free yourself from a huge amount of suffering. Living in harmony with the nature of life doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself. It means accepting that things, people, and circumstances change, and that this is part of the natural cycle of existence. Youth gives way to maturity, and maturity brings wisdom. Losses teach us to appreciate what we still have. Life itself, with its highs and lows, is a constant dance between what we expect and what actually happens. Think of how nature flows. A river doesn't fight against rocks, it moves around them. A tree doesn't complain about the wind, it adapts to it. Instead of struggling with what you can't change, learn to adjust and find a way to navigate those challenges with serenity. Self-love, in this sense, means learning to let go of rigid expectations and allowing life to reveal its own rhythm. Here's a simple exercise. The next time something doesn't go as planned, instead of feeling frustrated or trying to force things, ask yourself, how can I adapt to this? Maybe the change you're resisting is the key to opening a new, lighter, and more enriching chapter. Living in harmony with nature means understanding that you won't always have all the answers, and that's okay. What matters is learning to flow with what life offers and to find peace in acceptance. Because in the end, the greatest act of wisdom is to stop fighting the inevitable and start living in peace with what is. 7. Cultivate inner tranquility. In a world that never stops moving, and at a stage in life where everything sometimes seems to change too fast or not enough, inner peace is an invaluable treasure. Yet oddly enough, it's something we don't always cultivate as we should. We spend our lives worried about responsibilities, others' problems, and others' expectations. And in that process, we forget that our inner peace is the most valuable thing we have. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Epictetus put it clearly, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control and others are not. And if there's one thing you do have control over, it's your emotional response to what happens around you. Tranquility doesn't depend on everything being perfect, but on your ability to handle whatever comes with calm. This is where self-love comes in. Learning to protect your tranquility is a profound act of self-care. It's not about becoming indifferent, but about recognizing that you can't carry everything. If you allow every small issue to disturb you, you'll end up exhausted, emotionally drained, and without energy to enjoy the good things in your life. Think about this. How many times have you let a minor irritation or something beyond your control ruin your day? At this stage of life, it's time to be more selective about what you let disturb your peace. Tranquility isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. And the good news is that you can cultivate it day by day by consciously choosing not to get caught up in unnecessary drama or thoughts that lead nowhere. Here's a practical tip. Whenever you feel something or someone disturbing your peace, pause and ask yourself, is this worth losing my tranquility over? If the answer is no, then breathe, let it go, and move on. Because in the end, inner tranquility is the foundation for living fully. Without it, everything else loses value. Without. Life after 60 is the perfect time to cultivate that serenity you may have put off for years. Make your tranquility a priority, and you'll see how everything else begins to flow more lightly. Because in the end, a calm mind is the greatest gift you can give yourself in this stage of life. 8. Avoid judgment and comparisons. Throughout life, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others, whether it's what they have, what they do, or even how they age. We spend too much time judging others or ourselves for not meeting certain standards that, if we're honest, no longer make sense. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Comparisons are poison, and constant judgment of yourself or others is one of the fastest ways to destroy your inner peace. Epictetus taught that it's not events that disturb people, but their opinions about them. And it's true. It's not the years you've lived that weigh you down. It's comparing yourself to someone who seems to be better or worse off than you. It's not what others are doing that bothers you. It's judging yourself for not being where you think you should be. Here's one of the greatest lessons from Stoic philosophy. Other people's lives aren't your business. The only thing that truly matters is how you choose to live yours. If you spend your life comparing, you'll always feel unsatisfied. There will always be someone who seems to have more, do more, or age differently. But remember, what you see from the outside is never the full story. Everyone has their own path, their own battles, and what may seem like a victory to one person could be a burden to another. Self-love means no longer measuring your life by what others do or what society expects. It means accepting that your journey is unique, that your achievements and challenges are yours alone. And most importantly, it means knowing you don't need to compare yourself to anyone to feel whole. Here's a practical tip. The next time you catch yourself comparing or judging, stop and ask, how does this benefit me? Because let's be honest, it doesn't. It only drains your energy and distracts you from what truly matters, your own well-being. The freedom that comes from letting go of comparisons is immense. And at this stage in life, where wisdom should be your main guide, there's no time to waste on judgments and comparisons. Live your life, your way, and let others do the same. The peace you gain by dropping this habit is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. 9. Effort still brings rewards. Sometimes, when we reach a certain age, we fall into the mistaken idea that it's no longer worth putting in the effort. As if, after 60 or 70, the work is done, and all that's left is to wait for time to pass. But here's a truth you may have forgotten. As long as you're breathing, you have the ability to do meaningful things, and that includes continuing to put in effort toward what truly matters. Seneca said, "Effort is not in vain, not even in small things." Just because you're no longer running marathons or taking on big work projects doesn't mean effort is no longer a part of your life. Maybe now, effort is more subtle. It might be the work of taking care of your health, keeping relationships alive, or continuing to cultivate mental peace. Whatever type of effort you're making, it's still valuable and still yields rewards. Effort doesn't have an expiration date. And don't fool yourself into thinking it's pointless to try. Whether you're learning something new, staying active, or dedicating time to reflection and personal growth, each step counts. Because effort doesn't always have to be grand or heroic to make an impact. Sometimes, simply deciding that today, you'll focus on your emotional well-being, your relationships, or your surroundings is an effort that will pay off in the long run. Here's a reflection. What small effort could you make today to bring you closer to the life you truly want? Maybe it's going for a walk, diving into that book you've been putting off, or calling a loved one to reconnect. The point is not to remain passive, because every effort you make continues to build something. Self-love also shows up in the effort we put into ourselves, not to meet anyone else's expectations, but to keep moving forward with dignity and purpose. So don't fall into the trap of thinking effort is a thing of the past. Every small effort you make today still adds up, still shapes your life, and most importantly, still keeps your sense of purpose alive. Because aging doesn't mean stopping, it means continuing to give the best of yourself in the way that makes you feel most fulfilled. As we move forward in life, we reach a point where the true keys to a fulfilling life have little to do with material things or external expectations and everything to do with how we choose to live each day. Stoicism teaches us that the most important thing is how we manage what's within our control. And at this stage, the most valuable control we have is over our own mind, our decisions, and how we choose to spend the time we have left. Every lesson we've explored today isn't just philosophical theory, it's a practical tool you can apply right now. Simplify, accept, persevere, and live in peace with what is, rather than what was or what could be. True wisdom doesn't come simply with age. It comes when we decide to live with intention, unafraid to let go of what's unnecessary and embrace what truly matters. My name is Gabriel, and if this is your first time here on the channel, I invite you to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming topics we'll be discussing. If you've made it this far, it means you're truly committed to your personal growth, and that deserves recognition. So, to know who stayed with me until the end, comment with the phrase, I'm a Stoic, and tell me where you're listening from. I'd love to know where in the world you're connected from and who's joining me on this journey of self-discovery. And before you go, don't forget to share this video with someone who might need these words today. Sometimes, a small piece of advice can make a big difference in someone's life. I'll see you in the next video.